I'm Josh.
And I'm Sam. Welcome back to bonus content. Uh, this time it's Season 1, Episode 2 of the Lost 20 Star Wars video games. This time, last episode we went over Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, the greatest Star Wars video game ever. Now we're going over the second best Star Wars video game ever to exist, Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Alright, so, could you give us a brief introduction to this lovely game?
This is the sequel to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which will be the object of the next episode of the podcast of bonus content, Top Lost 20 Star Wars video games. So, what is Jedi Survivor? Well, like I told you, it's the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, but what is it about? Well, you start off on Coruscant. Yes, the capital of the Empire. And you are a captive. You don't get to do much, right? Well, turns out this whole captive thing was a ruse just so you can get close to an Imperial Senator. Then when you're up close and personal to that guy, the Jediing begins. But there's a bit of a flaw in the plan, and you have to do a bunch of platforming and taking out stormtroopers to get back to the ship. Oh yeah, also Cal doesn't have the Mantis crew anymore. They're gone. He has this new group that includes a bunch of random people that we don't know. Well, there's a reason for that. Once you capture the Senator, the Ninth Sister Inquisitor is back, kills your entire crew, except for Bode, who is the only important character of your new crew to notice. Oh, and Bravo, who dies much later. Yeah, the Ninth Sister is the first boss you fight in the game. And yeah, were you thinking, yeah, we already fought her back in Fallen Order. Why are we fighting her again? Well, yeah, the Ninth Sister is really persistent and really wants you dead, so good luck. So, yeah, you're fighting the Ninth Sister. This time, you finally get to kill her because Ninth Sister's such a pain to deal with. And you're all like, ugh, finally. I don't want to be chased around by that Inquisitor anymore because that Inquisitor has been chasing me since Fallen Order. And I just want to be done with the chasing. Well, chasing's not over. The Empire's still after you. And after you escape Coruscant, that's when you realize that you can't keep fighting the Empire. You need to go find a place where you can settle down. Also, repair the Mantis. Luckily, you know where one of the Mantis crew is, Grease. Remember him from Fallen Order? He's part of the Mantis crew. And he is settled down on Bogano, a planet full of deserts and plains. Actually, a pretty nice place to be. It's a place of mining, scavenging. Yeah, we have miners, scavengers, people who mine shards. But there's also a big threat on Bogano, the Bedlam Raiders, which are made up of rebuilt and reprogrammed separatist droids, including battle droids, super battle droids, Magna Guards. Basically, it's a Clone Wars vibe. For anyone who loved Star Wars The Clone Wars, this is your game because it has all those droids from the Clone Wars. And you're like, I haven't faced these guys since the Clone Wars. This is awesome. So then you get to the place. So yeah, after traveling through a lot of Bogano, you find some people who point you towards a town. Yeah, you find some people that point you towards a town. When you go there, you find a cantina, which is being harassed by the leader of the Bedlam Raiders, a Gendai named Ravis. Reminder, Gendai are Dirge's species. Dirge being a bounty hunter from the 2003 Clone Wars series. So, yeah, it's going to be a hard fight if you fight Ravis, which, luckily, you don't. You get to fight this one Bedlam Raider guy. Then you meet Grease, and he's all like, "Oh, I have a lot of problems in my cantina. I have a lot of this stuff. I have a lot of this. I don't have much credits. How you doing, BD? It's like I said, I don't have a lot of..." Wait a minute. Then, yeah. And that's when Grease realizes you've arrived. He was so busy with the canteen, he didn't even notice you there. So yeah, you reunite with Grease. He gets you a room at the bottom of the cantina. Yeah, your own little room. Your own little meditation pad, your own little upgrade place. Oh, and Grease also shows you the smuggler's tunnels, which you can escape to if which you can escape to if the Bedlam Raiders attack. Go through the smuggler tunnels, BD finds something, and then you and BD fall into this unknown chamber, which turns out to be a chamber for the High Republic era. That's right, the High Republic era has now been officially introduced in a Star Wars video game. And this one Jedi Survivor introduces the High Republic era, which is set sometime before the Phantom Menace, like 300, 200, 100 years before the Phantom Menace. It's actually not that far off from the prequels, but still pretty far off to be considered. But unlike the prequels, High Republic era is Golden Age of the Jedi. So yeah, you go through some ancient ruins. Go through some ancient ruins. You go exploring there a bit, find some stuff. Then you find this droid, this High Republic droid, who recently had its memory wiped by its master, a Jedi. This droid knows how to navigate the Koboh Abyss to a planet called Tanalorr, but the Jedi wiped the droid's memory for good reason. So you reactivate the droid, free the droid, and the droid then follows you to Cantina, because now you have a problem with picking up strays. And this stray, a High Republic droid, still thinks it's the High Republic era, and is surprised when things change. So you have to fill the droid on the details that the Republic's gone, the Jedi are gone, and the Empire rules the galaxy. Yeah. That's going to be a hard thing to break to that droid. So the droid gives you more sets of coordinates for stuff, and there you go exploring, fight more Bedlam Raider forces, and find this High Republic temple. Yeah, this High Republic Jedi temple. There seems to be nothing in there except a Bacta tank filled with one guy. One guy who is breathing like Vader. He's going to be an ally, right? Right? Well, turns out he has this whole backstory in which you can figure out using Force Psychometry. Yeah, Cal Kestis has Force Psychometry. Touch an object, he can feel its story. So Cal uses the Force Psychometry on the guy in the Bacta tank, who it's then revealed that his name is Dagan Gera. He was a Jedi Knight of the High Republic, and he discovered this beautiful planet called Tanalorr, which he proposed to his master, Jedi Master Santari Kree, that they could easily set up a Jedi outpost there. So Santari says, we'll see about that. We'll have to let the council decide. Santari Kree calls in the council. The council debates for a very long time, and Dagan is very impatient, saying, the council's taking too long. We should make our decision now. Santari reminds Dagan patience. A lot of council members may take a long time to make decisions, especially Master Oppo Rencesis, who was a member of the High Republic Jedi Council during that time. So, yeah, while Dagan and Santari were talking about that, the Nile, a villainous pirate marauder group, and the enemy of the Republic and the Jedi Order arrive to attack Tanalorr. Then the council comes out and says, forget the Academy, we're leaving Tanalorr. Then Dagan notices that you're in there, that you're in his mind. You're not supposed to be here. And after you free Dagan from the Bacta tank, Dagan then tells you the rest of the story. He says that he was once a proud High Republic Jedi Knight. That Dagan was once a proud High Republic Jedi Knight. That he wanted to protect Tanalorr from the Nile, but the Council told him and Santari to leave Tanalorr, and therefore Tanalorr was left to the mercy of the Nile. Dagan plotted for a few years to return to Tanalorr, even though Santari said it was too dangerous. When Dagan figured out how to get there, he was betrayed by Santari Khri. Dagan, remembering all this, bleeds his yellow kyber crystal to red and joins the dark side. So yeah, now you have a new enemy, Dagan Gera, a High Republic Jedi who navigates a changing time period. Dagan Gera then joins Ravis and becomes leader of the Bedlam Raiders. So now the Bedlam Raiders are more aggressive than ever, since Dagan joined Ravis. But you don't have time to dwell on that. You have to go to Jeddah to find Seer and ask her about a bunch of stuff about the High Republic and a lot of that stuff. But the Empire's occupied Jeddah. The Empire is on the planet Jeddah, and the Empire also is looking for you on Jeddah, so you have to navigate around the Empire and escape the Empire. Then suddenly you run into Marin, who's basically taken another member of the Mantis crew, but Marin has taken up the role of a wanderer who has been exploring the galaxy trying to find her purpose. What she found was herself, which is good enough. She appeared on Jeddah to help you fight the Empire, and she also said, I know where Seer is. I can take you to her. I also work for Seer. You and Marin go to find Seer. Seer being your former Jedi Master and member of the Mantis crew. So after you and Marin defeat a bunch of Imperials, Marin notices that a sandstorm's coming. You take a ride on one of these long-necked creatures on Jeddah. Then, after that fails, you make your way to a cave. And then Cal and Marin talk for a while and have a bit of a romantic moment where Marin explains the reason behind Dathomiri Night Sister fire. Basically, stare into the fire and it will warm you, but don't stare too far, otherwise you'll be lost in it. It's a unique retrospective and a unique phrase. So once Merrick and Cal are done with their romantic moment, they explore the desert, fight the Empire, and then Marin takes Cal in the back way. But instead of meeting with Seer, they meet up with someone who was long thought dead in Jedi Fallen Order. Jedi Master Eno Cordova. He was Seer's master, and he left a bunch of clues to a Jedi holocron in the last game. And now, he has returned as a member of the Hidden Path. This group basically takes any Force sensitives, refugees, and Jedi survivors and takes them somewhere where the Empire can't reach them. It's basically the Star Wars version of the Underground Railroad. So yeah, then after solving a few puzzles, you meet up with Seer, who tells you a few things about stuff. So yeah, then you go into another journey in the desert with Marin. And then you go back to then you go back to Bogano. No, not Bogano, it's,
Perhaps we should stop there to avoid spoilers?
Yeah, I guess so.
In that case, how about we talk a little more about some of the characters? What's your overall opinion on Ravis?
Ravis is huge. He's as big as Dirge. He's fierce, threatening, and is the leader of the Bedlam Raiders. But he is also respectful and honorable. He basically greets you in honor the first time you arrive, but he also tries to kill you multiple times because you're a threat to the Bedlam Raiders. He also respects Dagon because Dagon Gara once fought Ravis in the High Republic era and defeated Ravis. The Ravis was all like, "You have bested me in combat. I will follow you anywhere, Dagon." So yeah, you fight Ravis much later in the game. You fight Ravis much later in the game on a crashed Lucra Hulk. And there, it's a huge and difficult boss fight, but you manage to defeat Ravis and grant him an honorable death, worthy of a warrior.
Alright, so speaking of which, tell us some more about Dagon Gera.
Dagon Gara was a High Republic Jedi Knight. He basically was impatient, reckless, and a lot like Anakin. When he found Tanalorr, he thought it was his big break. He thought the Council would notice his greatness, his awesomeness, and promote him to Master or something. Santari Khri thought that too, but the Council basically refused to set up an academy on Tanalorr and left the planet, which made Dagon angry because he thought he could take the Nile, but the Nile were too much and he had to retreat. It's found out later that Dagon Gara reconstructed the compass to get back to Tanalorr and wanted to reclaim the planet for the Jedi, but Santari wouldn't let Dagon Gara do that, and in fact chopped off Dagon Gara's arm in response to Dagon's revelation. Then puts Dagon in a Bacta tank. When Dagon awakens from the Bacta tank, he finds out the Empire rules the galaxy has changed, and Dagon falls to the dark side. He becomes the dark side leader of the Bedlam Raiders, leading their terrorist operations throughout the planet. You also face Dagon Gara. You also see a few Force echoes of Dagon Gara murdering fellow High Republic Jedi just to get the information he was after. Also, you face Dagon Gara not once, not twice, but 3 times in the game. The second time you face Dagon Gara is aboard the Lucra Hulk, where he captures Z and tries to reconstruct the droid's memory on how to get back to Tanalorr. Yeah, Dagon Gara was really obsessed with getting back to Tanalorr. Then the final time is when Dagon has the compass, but before he can use it, you arrive and try to stop Dagon Gara. In the third time, you manage to kill Dagon Gara in a lightsaber fight. All Dagon Gara was obsessed with throughout the time you first met him in that temple was Tanalorr, Tanalorr, Tanalorr.
Alright, and of course, what I personally think is the most interesting question of all, how has good old Cal Kestis changed since the first game?
How Cal Kestis has changed? Oh, I don't know. He's grown some stubble. He's gotten a new uniform. He's working with rebel groups and Saw Gerrera's partisan movement now. Yeah, he's working with Saw Gerrera's group and is openly fighting the Empire. Basically, he's basically sticking a target on his chest and saying, "Hey Empire, I'm right here, come get me," instead of hiding and running in the first game. But then, after most of Cal's gang is killed, Cal says, well, maybe we should find some place to hide from the Empire. Maybe we should actually focus on hiding rather than fighting. But Cal's like, no, I can't do that. The fight is all I know. So Cal's more focused on fighting the Bedlam Raiders and the Empire, while everyone else is trying to say, Cal, let it go. We have to go into hiding. Grease even says, you gotta know when to walk away from a rigged sabacc game. Baron's all like, there are more important things than fighting. And Seer's all like, We need to find a place for the hidden path. We can't focus on fighting the Empire or the Bedlam Raiders right now. So Cal is doing everything. So Cal is doing a lot of things there, helping friends and realizing there's more to life than just fighting the Empire, fighting the Bedlam Raiders. He's grown and matured since the last game. Oh, and depending on your hair choice, he could also grow a beard. He can also go from stubble to beard.
Very interesting. Alright, let's talk about some of the new lore now. What can you tell us about the Bedlam Raiders?
The Bedlam Raiders are made up entirely of separatist forces. We have battle droids, commando droids, super battle droids, magna guards, vulture droids, Lucra Hulks. Some of the Bedlam Raiders, though, are veterans and veteran mercenaries that team up with droid forces. Basically, they're raiders. They pillage, they loot, they steal, they terrorize the local villages. And they're a bit of a threat, but they're not as bad as the Empire.
Alright. Oh, yeah, this is definitely relevant. Give us a brief summary of the High Republic era.
The High Republic era was an era of prosperity for the Jedi. 500 years before the events of the prequels, the Jedi search teams fanned out throughout the galaxy, set up temples on many planets, and started training many younglings. It was an era of peace and prosperity for the Jedi. It was an era of growth and development for the Republic. And then we see threats like the Path of the Open Hand begin to form. They believed the Force should be free, and they resented the Jedi for their use in the Force. So there was a big fight between the Jedi and the Path of the Open Hand. Much later, after the Path of the Open Hand was defeated, peace once again came to the galaxy. Then dark side beings called the Drengir got loose from this one space station. Oh, and this group called the Nile started terrorizing the Republic and the Jedi Order, led by this guy Makian Ro, who's basically a conqueror. So the Jedi and the Republic had to fight Makian Ro and the Nile.
Isn't it pronounced Markion? There's an R in it, right?
Oh, Markian Ro. Sorry, misspell there. Markian Ro, the Nile, and the Drengir were a threat. But no matter how hard the Jedi and the Republic fought, the Nile achieved their goal of victory by destroying Starlight Beacon, a symbol of hope and peace through the galaxy, and also scattered the Jedi. So then they had to band together and fight back against the Nile, which they eventually defeated.
Alright, that is a very good brief summary. What are the cool new Force powers in this game?
Well, aside from the usual Force powers, Cal has a few usual Force powers: pull, push. Cal has a few usual Force powers: pull, push, psychometry, jump, wall crawl. Wall crawl, and a few others. This game also introduces the Jedi mind trick, and I can assure you there are a lot more Force powers that can be discovered. Beast control, mind trick. Actually, when Cal learns new Force powers, this time he goes back to Seer's teachings. Oh, yeah. Speaking of Seer's teachings, Seer taught him a few new Force powers, including Beast Control, Mind Trick, how to force lift objects and enemies, and so instead of DePaul teaching Cal these tricks, like from flashbacks in the first game, we get flashbacks of Seer teaching Cal these new abilities.
Alright, I just thought of this. Many have compared Jedi Fallen Order to The Force Unleashed. With that in mind, how do you think Jedi Survivor compares to The Force Unleashed 2?
Well, first off, it doesn't suck like The Force Unleashed 2 did. Secondly, Force Unleashed 2, the Force Unleashed series games are more of an action-style anime game where the character goes Super Saiyan mode. In the Jedi Survivor Fallen Order games, the guy is just trying to live, just trying to survive. Just a normal dude.
That is a fascinating take. Alright, so speaking of comparing things, how do you think Ravis compares to Dirge in terms of their portrayal as a Gendai?
Well, Ravis actually has a few speaking lines. He has a lot of speaking lines in the game, and he's gruff and tough when he speaks. Dirge only has one line in 2003 Clone Wars. It's when he laughs maniacally after Obi-Wan stabs him. And even that's more threatening than Ravis's talk. So when comparing Ravis to Dirge in portrayals of strength, Dirge would win. When in combat, Dirge would win. Ravis, though, like Dirge, can heal after getting a limb chopped off or getting chopped to pieces, which Dirge expressly showed us in 2003 Clone Wars. Also, Dirge wears a helmet, unlike Ravis. And, yeah, basically, Ravis is not as powerful as Dirge, but is just as threatening and dangerous.
Alright, and how does Dagan Gera compare with other High Republic era Jedi?
Dagan Gera. Dagan is, well, yeah, he's actually one of the few High Republic Jedi that has fallen to the dark side. When it comes to High Republic Jedi fighting dark side force-using enemies, the probability of that happening in the High Republic was pretty much zero, so Dagan was the first of a fallen Jedi from the High Republic age. Dagan is not well, a lot of the High Republic Jedi are calm and peaceful, and Dagan's reckless and impatient, a lot like Anakin. So yeah, Dagan's more of a take action kind of guy, while the rest of the Jedi are like, we'll let the conflict come to us, and we'll figure out how to deal with it.
Alright, and looks like we probably only have time for one more question. If you were to rank all of the Order 66 survivors, Legends and Disney canon, from worst to best, how high up would Cal Kestis reach?
To be honest, he would not rank very high, but not very low either. He'd be closer somewhere to the middle, lower middle actually, because there are a lot of Jedi that survived the Order 66 and Jedi Purge, and a lot of them are much more powerful than Cal Kestis. Also, a lot of those Jedi outrank Kestis as a Jedi Master. Cal Kestis as a Jedi Knight is pretty good, but again, Cal Kestis' power levels, he is pretty powerful, but still, he's not as powerful as some of the greater Order 66 survivors. Still, Cal Kestis is more powerful than a lot of Jedi that survived Order 66. Most of them being Padawans or Knights. So, basically, Cal Kestis may be the most powerful Jedi Knight who has survived Order 66.
And we'll be discussing Cal Kestis a lot more in our next bonus content focusing on Jedi Fallen Order. So if you loved that game, or if you're curious about that game, or if you like hearing about that game in any way, shape, or form, be sure to tune in for that video. In the meantime, well, that looks like all the time we have here for today. So, I'm Josh.
And I'm Sam.
And this is us signing off, I guess. Bye.